This is Professor Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department of the FAFSA Institute of Technology. Another tutorial on the bypass ring project for JD237 3D modeling with Rhino. This is the setting in progress. I'm going to have to curve this finger rest to follow the ring bore. I'm going to tidy up my drawing a little bit first. I'm going to grab this sets of curves, group them, put them in storage. Actually, I think I may have put that on the wrong storage layer. Here we go. Just making sure. Also no longer need this. It is not nearly as successful as that, so throw that away. I will not need these either, so group, storage, curves, and I won't need these. Delete. Okay. So, what I need to do is I need to position this so that it's consistent with some dimension that I can work with, some location I can work with. There are a couple of ways I can do that. Right now, I think the easiest one is going to be to move this up until it rests equal to the finger bore. No, I'm going to move it up until it rests even with this guide, the top of the finger rest. So move, command. I do want to project because I don't want it to move back and forth. I'm going to hope that I have an end snap here, or a quad snap here. I do. Okay. Quad to quad. That broke history, that's okay. So now this is in a position that I can work with more effectively. I need to create a flow kit using curves. This is no longer applicable, that line. I'm going to go front C-plane, turn off the upper under bezel there. Curve tools, straight line, both sides from quad. I just want it big enough to hold my finger rest so that it's as big as the full length. By the way, I don't care for the seam here. That is a terrible place for a seam. Okay, I'm going to have to accept it. Well, there are 4 of them. Okay, I'll live with it. I don't like it, but I'll live with it. I'm going to analyze length. It is 6.915 millimeters. Now that's actually, this is the more complicated way to do it. I don't want to do this. There's an easier way. The easier way is to actually go the other direction, make a circle center radius from that quadrant at the top of that circle, and pull it out so that you know that the curved line is big enough. Trim it. Delete the circle. Analyze length. 7.24. Make a curve 7.24. Shift key, move mid to quad. Putting it on the same line. There. Record history. Transform flow along curve. Base curve. Select near one end. Copy equals yes. Target curve. Select near end. Check it in my front view. Looks good. Put this one on my storage objects layer. these together and put them on my storage curves layer in case I need them in the future. And that gives me the completed rails. Take a look at my stone in place. That's ready to go. Okay, what I'm going to do now is the maquette surfacing of the shank to prove out my design. I need to create basically cookies or cake layers that I can easily extrude into solid blocks and then flow into position to see if I agree with what I'm coming up with. Okay. Now, I initially allowed these to come to an end that wasn't lined up under the center of the stone. I think I'm going to be fighting that through the entire model, and I don't like fighting if I don't have to, so I'm going to rectify that now. Turn off that background image. You'll see that it does not run through 0, 0. What's interesting to me is it looks like it does run through 0, 0 right there, and I don't understand how that would be unless it's not a straight line. I'm going to redraw that curve just to make sure it is straight. 0 both sides. Okay, yeah, it's just slightly off. I want to make sure that these ends come straight up onto that in the middle. So I'm going to delete one side. Explode this. Hold Control key down to deselect that one curve. Rejoin the rest. I'm going to move this using mid and int snap. Mid to int. Now I'm going to turn on the points for this bottom curve. I'm going to grab the bottom 3 or 4 points, the end 3 or 4 points, and I'm going to move them down. The reason I pulled the last 3 or 4 is I don't want the symmetry, the flow straight across to change. I was very careful to preserve that when I drew the piece. I don't want to lose it now. In fact, it looks to me like this is not obeying that rule anymore. So just to make sure it is, I'm going to do the point and then use the shift slide to make sure that it is doing what I want it to do. Turn on my curvature graph. Looks like I have some craziness here to fix. Better there. Delete that sub anchor. Point to point, straight across. A couple of points that are a little out of sync here. Okay. Point to point, straight across. Point to point, straight across, point to point, straight across. This is basically creating a straight line all the way through here. But I think that's going to work just fine for the design. Okay. I'm happy. I'm going to join these together. mirror this back over. I'm going to trim this line back out. And I'm going to make sure, oops, hang on, made a mistake. I don't want to mirror that over. I want to rotate it over. 180 degrees, copy equals yes. Enter when done. It'll be the same effect on the length of this curve, but I wanted to make sure, you know, it would have ruined the design. Okay. I'm going to double check that this curve is still the right length. Should match the outer profile of my ring. 66,256. It is not. Okay. 65,973. 66,256. So before I can go any further, I need to make this length proper. 65,973. So, easiest way to do that is to make a circle that same diameter. 65.973. Trim off this curve. Both ends, keeping it symmetrical. And delete my trim curve. I'm going to turn on my points. And I'll grab these few at the end here. Enter from mid to end. Okay. It won't make any difference visibly on the design, but it is important that I have it accurate, because I'll be doing a lot of flowing later and I don't want any errors. So you'll see that I keep double checking. I think I know, I think it's good, but I always stop and double check if I have any wonder at all. Center of rotation 0, copy equals yes, 180 degrees. Okay, so now I had drawn a curve right here, and it is still located in the dark blue file. I'm going to bring that back into the front view because I'm going to need that in a bit here. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to prepare this drawing to make the maquette blocks. Now remember, in class I talked about the 3 steps, or the beginning steps of doing this model. I decided that I was going to do it almost entirely as a flow along surface project. I decided that I needed to have at least 2 flow kits, one for these flames or frond sort of elements, and another one for the diamond set elements. Okay, so those were the beginning steps of making this, and that the first thing I would work on was the setting, which I've already resolved fairly well. So I need to make the cakes that I'm going to use for my maquette. The whole frond here is going to be one cake. So since I have, you just rotate it around the other side, I'm going to go ahead and trim out and make, I'm going to do a blend curve between these two. Okay, I'm going to explode the section. Control click to take that part out. I can join the rest. Now I'll take this side and join it to this curve and that curve. I'm getting a closed curve. That is cake number 1. For this segment coming in. Now actually I have a bit of a problem. I'm going to undo what I just did. I got to think this through better. I really don't want this to come down and leave this whole section affiliated with this inside piece. No, okay. It's alright. I just had to think for a minute. I'm going to have a challenge where this blends in, and I told you the problem points in the design in class were going to be this intricate piece here and how these fade in and out of each other. And I was just trying to think of if I could come up with a more elegant solution, but I can't right now, so I won't. So I'll just carry this straight down to that end. Actually, that doesn't give me a nice result, so I'll do another blend curve coming straight off the end. That's fine. Got to make a duplicate of this little end piece so I can join another closed curve. We want closed, simple curve shapes. And I don't need the stones for what I'm doing here. So those are my 2 cakes for my flow along surface, or flow along curve at this point. Flow along curve will work fine. So now I'm going to extrude these straight down, thicker than I think I'm going to need, considerably thicker than I think I'm going to need. Starting with the frond. I don't want both sides, I want one side, and I want solid. S enter for solid equals yes. Thicker than I think I'll need. And then I'm going to check that. Transform flow along curve. It's straight now, so I'll pick the flat curve first, and then the finger profile, the ring profile, second. Okay? Now that did something I didn't expect, so I'm going to do it again. There we go. I just picked on the wrong side down there. Okay? See how that interacts with my settings? Not bad for an initial maquette. Going to rotate, copy S180. Everything fits together, and that gives me the outer surface. I'm going to need to flow this all the way down for the lower one, all the way down to the bottom of the ring. So I need to change this curve so that it comes all the way down. I'm going to make a copy of this so I don't lose it. Straight line to cut with. I'm going to bring that up as far as I think I can and still get a decent blend between these. Trim off. Blend. A bit of an awkward bulge. So I'm going to have to trim it off lower. Because I don't want anything really sudden or unpleasant going on right there. That's nice. Going to join this together. Make sure the seam is at the bottom still. There. going to check its length, and I'm going to put it on a different layer so we can have, I'm going to paste back in before I forget about it, the original profile. This way I can turn those off and put the flow kit for this on a separate layer. Analyze length, 62947. So 62947, starting at 0. Enter from mid to 0. Turn off my settings. Turn back on my top view. And extrude this cake straight down. Remember, extrusions are perpendicular to the active C-plane, so I was just setting that C-plane so it could be perpendicular from top. Solid equals yes. Plenty deep. Click. Okay. Okay, now my problem is that in the way I drew it, this goes out to the full length. Okay? But in its actual flow curve, is shorter. So it doesn't go the full length of this outer cake. So that's a bit of a challenge for me. So I'm going to do a non-uniform scale. And see what I get. Starting with the furthest point on that towards center, grabbing the end of it and bringing it to the end of that flow curve. I don't want to change in Y or Z. And transform flow along curve, flat, round, and there I have that. Rotate that around. Check that against my settings. Compare that to the fronds. And that is not a bad result. I'm going to put both of the cakes on one layer and both of the flowed pieces on the same layer. And that is a good basic maquette to start testing out my design with. I'm going to put the finger tube in so I can more accurately evaluate it. Putting all of the metal on one layer. I'll even E-map it. I'm looking at overall elevations. This is a fairly thick piece of metal here, proportionately to the width of the rim here, but I know it's going to be fine. The truth is that it's only 2.3 millimeters thick here. It's fine. I'm going to have to come up with something interesting here where the prong relates, but I already knew that was going to be a point of interest as I worked with it. Overall, I'm happy, so I'm going to call that a good maquette for starters, and that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.